Hello there, and welcome back to the Senate Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Johnston, and in this episode, I'm joined by Tony, the multiverse traveling Quinones. How you doing today, buddy?
I just fought Vandal Savage. He was trying to hunt me down and steal an artifact. So, I managed to escape. I'm in an undisclosed location. He's not going to find me for a while, so I have just enough time to do this episode.
You pulled out Vandal Savage. That's amazing. I haven't thought about Vandal Savage in such a long time. That's amazing. All right. Well, this is episode number 10. And today, you and I will be discussing how to create the greatest comic book universe ever.
Oh, yeah.
And how we're going to do that is we are just going to completely tear down and criticize James Gunn's DC universe that he's creating himself. So that'll be fun. The Senate Podcast, we're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast. All right, so we're coming out with episodes every week. I'm going to try to do them on Fridays. Maybe Fridays, maybe not, but we're going to try to do Fridays from now on, just because of all of our schedules lining up on Fridays. It works out pretty good. All right, so let's get into what have you been playing or watching recently? And I'll have you start if there's anything you want to talk about in particular. I know there's a few things we were talking about right before we started, but specifically, any video games?
I've been playing on my Game Boy Advance,
Mario
and Luigi's Superstar Saga.
What a banger.
And heck yeah, dude, it's like you look at a lot of other games on that system and I mean, they're good, like there are some well-made, pretty nice looking games on there. But Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga, it's like Nintendo was like, oh, how about we actually put money into this thing? The graphics, I looked up a playthrough on YouTube and the real graphics of the game look worse than my copy. I don't really know what that's about, but the graphics are great. The music, a lot of Game Boy Advance games have music that it's like, yeah, that was composed on the Game Boy Advance. Like it has that sound to it. The music in this game sounds like it could have been in a Super Nintendo Mario game. And
yeah,
the combat actually makes turn-based combat fun. It's really cool. Like when you do an attack, if you press a button at the right time, it like strengthens the attack. And then when the enemy attacks, if you jump at the right time, you can dodge. And like it has, some platforming elements. It had some like explore, like if you walk around the levels and explore and do platforming, you get items that you would use in an RPG because it's an RPG at its core. But like just everything about it, like it's so well made that it ticks me off. Like it's like
it's a great RPG.
Heck yeah, and it's not like when you walk into an area and fight enemies, they don't respawn. So there's no like monotonous, tedious grinding. Like I'm not super far into it yet, but I'm really enjoying it. And then on PS3, I played a little bit of the original Dead Space.
Dude, PS3,
I had
man.
accidentally bought the second one a while ago. So I was like, well, I'll just buy the first one, and then
Greatest
I can play those two.
accident of your life.
Huh?
Greatest accident of your life.
Heck yeah, dude. It's like the atmosphere is great. I love the atmosphere of survival horror games, but I'm not great at them because it usually eventually becomes me running around for hours not knowing what to do. But I think I'm more drawn to it if it's like an action game. Like this is like, a third person shooter, but it has the horror. It has an upgrade system where if you explore the levels, you find things to upgrade your gun, which is my kind of thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of that. And yeah, unfortunately, that's all I got for gaming. But I'd say quality over quantity in this case.
Exactly what I was going to say. That is an extremely, great 2 games to be playing. So my history with the Mario and Luigi games, I played Superstar Saga, Partners in Time, and Bowser's Inside Story. I think Partners in Time I probably put the most amount of time into, and I really love Partners in Time. But yeah, Superstar Saga on the GBA, absolutely amazing game. And I'm not like the biggest JRPG fan or RPG fan, but I have a little bit of history with it going back to the Paper Marios and like Paper Mario N64, games like that. But really, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time was probably my favorite turn-based game ever. I'm looking it up right now because it's been a long time since I've played that. But
I'll
that
say
game
this
is
about
amazing.
Mario games too. Like I've played, Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 a fair bit. And they're the standard platformer, like side scroll, you
Yeah,
make your way through a level and kill enemies, you try to get a high score. And those games are, fun, especially if you're playing with people. It's a fun time. But I realized that because when I was younger, I played the hell out of Mario Galaxy on Wii. I think that game's perfect. One of my favorite games. I loved the Mario Odyssey on Switch. That was my first Switch game. And now I'm loving this. I feel like I love Mario games more when they're like adventure games. Like there's
yeah.
some story, there are actual worlds that you're going to instead of just the side scroll and stuff. So I can't wait
We're
to
gonna
play
have a
more.
Nintendo episode.
Yeah, I can't wait to play more Mario games in this style because they're like you could tell that like for some of Nintendo's franchises, it seems like they're like, I got like $20, here you go, try to make a good game. But when it comes to like Mario and like Zelda and some other stuff, you could just see all the love and care that they have for these franchises. And then with the Mario movie, it seems like Mario, you're gonna get something great with Mario.
There's a lot more potential for Mario than there actually is content out for Mario.
If we do the Nintendo episode, I have a few ideas for Mario things that might be a little weird, but I think would be a pretty cool shakeup.
Maybe I'll put that I'll put that on the schedule. Nintendo episode would be great because I grew up with Nintendo. So, and the Switch, you know what would be amazing? The Switch is such a great system for having Game Boy games or DS games on. This is future me inserting myself into the podcast because there was a Nintendo Direct a few days after we recorded this episode, and they actually announced that there are some Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games coming to Nintendo Switch Online. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga is one of those games, those few games that they're releasing for the Game Boy Advance part of the Nintendo Switch Online. I just want to add that in there because somehow Tony spoke this into existence. Well, I guess we both kind of did, but worked out great. All right, back to the episode. So,
dude, I know.
Why not just make instead of the N64 Virtual Console and NES, SNES, put a GBA Virtual Console on there, like a DS Virtual Console?
It's so weird because like the some of the 3DSs and I think the regular DSs and the Nintendo GameCube had a slot where you could play Game Boy Advance games. I wonder why they stopped doing stuff like that.
It's I know. So I know. I had that DS and I had the original, like the blocky gray one. Loved it. And then I moved on, but they should have kept that Game Boy port in there. So, man, he had that throwback, man. GBA, I miss that. That was one of the greatest systems ever.
I just recently had this desire to play some games on that console because I don't remember that I have it sometimes, and I'm like, there are a lot of famous games that I never played for this thing.
Exactly. I've been playing something more recent, still playing Horizon, but the difference is today, do you know what the backbone is?
Is that a kind of sandwich? No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know.
It basically is a sandwich for your phone, and it turns it into a switch. So It's just a controller that turns your phone into a almost like a Vita or a Switch in a way. It
Oh dang.
attaches. Yeah, I got it for my phone to specifically turn it into a Vita, and I have the PlayStation brand backbone. So I'll send you a picture of it. Anyways, I attached this controller to my phone, and then I opened up Remote Play for my PlayStation 5, and I was playing Horizon Forbidden West from my phone with the backbone,
Dang.
and it worked pretty good. The quality, the graphics were probably 720, and there was a lot of latency. But I got to the part in the game where I was fighting a Thunderjaw. This thing was insane. Probably the toughest thing I had to fight in the game so far. But I was determined, even with the latency, to use the backbone to beat it. And I got used to the controls and the latency on a handheld again. So imagine playing a game like Horizon on like a Vita. That's pretty much what I was doing. It was amazing.
Interesting.
So that's my only update with that. I got the thing to actually play Persona 4 Golden and try to have the Vita experience again. Funny enough. All right. Think PlayStation, but we're going to move it to HBO Max now. What are your impressions on PlayStation Studios' The Last of Us on HBO?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. Uh, Initially, I was like, I had the mindset that I was curious. Certainly, I was curious to see what they were gonna do, but I wasn't excited. I'm like, I'll watch the show when I watch the show. I don't care. I don't see why they're making this. Whatever. And then I saw episode 1, and they pretty much did exactly what I didn't want them to do, which is basically do a beat for beat recreation of the first section of the game with a little bit of added stuff here and there.
But it was
And I'm
so
like,
good.
oh great, yeah, it was really well made, but I'm like, oh fantastic. This is exactly what I feared it was gonna be. I guess they're not gonna do anything new, of course not. And then I saw episode 2 and I was like, wow, so they actually did a lot of new stuff here. Obviously still has the same structure. It was incredibly well shot by my boy Neil Druckmann, everybody's favorite video game creative. Obviously, nobody hates him for any reason. The how they reinvented the infected is creepy. It's great. I love the hive
Yeah.
mind thing. Everything about it, like the production, the acting, the relationships with the characters, how they reinvent certain things was great. So I was like, oh damn. And then I saw episode 3, and by the end,
You were shattered.
through my swollen, tear-filled eyes, I was like, okay, now they got me. Which is exactly what Troy Baker's been saying. He's like, by the end of episode 3, we're gonna have you hooked. And I'm like, he's a damn oracle, because I am hooked. I feel like they justified the show's existence by reinventing some things, especially in in episode 3. I didn't expect that, and it would have been cool to get what we got in the game. But I love that this is like a different ending for certain characters. I'll say that much, that they didn't get in the game, and I'm all for it. And I am on the hype train. I am drinking the Kool-Aid, and it tastes
Yes.
good.
Yes. I'm asking you about it because I know that's something we both have been watching, and I'm just trying to transition into the big screen movies, TV shows, and I feel very similar to you. I was a little bit, more up on episode 1 and 2. I think just because I feel like if the show does nothing more than basically perfectly mirror the game, I think it's still going to be a 10 out of 10 because I believe the game's a 10 out of 10. However, the show is doing more and better things. So honestly, I think the show has just been a straight 10 out of 10 so far. And,
Oh
I'm a
yeah.
Last of Us fan, so take, disclaimer. I also like the Halo series, so maybe don't trust my opinions on anything. But I'm excited for the departures from the game, like you're talking about in episode 3. And one thing I heard was that in the next episode or 2, they'll be introducing Sam and Henry, and I think that they're making Sam deaf in the show.
Is Sam the older one or the younger one? I'm really
Yeah,
curious to
Sam is the
see
younger one.
episode 4, like the sneak peek shows what seems like a brand new character. So I'm curious to see how they're going to tie her into the story.
Sam is the deaf younger brother of Henry in the HBO's Last of Us.
Huh.
That's going to be interesting because it doesn't just change up the character for no reason. Imagine being deaf in a world where the infected, or specifically the clickers, react to sound. And if you're deaf, you don't know if you step on something or whatnot.
I
So
mean, my concern with that is that I hope it's not just a quiet place. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I mean, I thought that was a great movie, but like I don't just want it to be, oh, it's that thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think you know what, you're right about that. And I think the changes they made to the infected with the hive mind thing, where if you step on this, it activates them from way across the city because they're connected. I think that's enough to differentiate it from something like A Quiet Place,
Yeah.
while still being you got to stay quiet because they use echolocation.
Dude, imagine how much harder the outcome for those characters. I'm not going to spoil it. How much harder that could hit now that we have the added time of a TV show.
Well, yeah, look at what they did with episode 3. I was like, when they get
Yeah.
to Sam and Henry, when they get to David, when they get to the Fireflies, this series is amazing. So those are our impressions on it. We're up on it. 10 out of 10. Absolute
Yes.
masterpiece. And I'm glad we started this episode talking about masterpieces, because from here on out, we're going to be talking about the opposite of all of that.
Boy.
And that's James Gunn's DCU. I just did a solo episode on it, kind of talking about the details, the 20 projects that are in the works at DC. James Gunn, he has this new slate of projects, specifically the Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters projects. And I'll just go through them real quick. The movies: Superman Legacy, The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Swamp Thing, and then the DCU TV shows: Creature Commandos, Waller, Booster Gold, Lanterns, and Paradise Lost, along with the current projects. But that's the quick rundown of it. Like I said, I did a solo episode detailing and going through what each one consists of, and kind of a little bit of the background with this, what's staying, what a current project is, what is being reset in the universe, all of that. You're up on that information. So from here, what we'll do is just give our thoughts on James Gunn and his DCU, because essentially this is the beginning of the MCU again. And I just read an article that said was James Gunn saying that his chapter 1 of the DCU is more planned out than phase 1 of the MCU. And I'm like, well, it should be. This is 15 years later. You have all of the hard work that the MCU put in, regardless of if you like them or not. The 15 hard years of work the MCU put in that you can look at and basically copy, and you're not even doing a great job of copying it. So
And I mean,
I would hope
plus,
that your chapter 1 is planned out.
And plus, when they made Iron Man, they didn't know if that movie was going to succeed or not. So they put in the Nick Fury scene as like a fun small tease,
Yeah,
But
to get people
they
hyped for
didn't
the
know
future.
that
They didn't
anything would
know.
really come of it necessarily. So I get what he's saying in that regard.
Yeah, which is true, and I hope. I mean, that should be true. That should be the case. Now, do you think that them having the first chapter of this new DCU, planned out like this, you think it's a good thing? How do you think it's going to go, with this announcement, and what's your reaction to it?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Caleb, because I get to drop one of my hot takes that might not even be a hot take, but you notice how Superman Legacy and how Superman Legacy has a little thing at the end. What is that? A release date? I'm sick of studios saying release dates for movies that aren't even in production yet.
Yeah, don't
Like,
expect that
he's
to hit that
writing the
release date.
movie. Did you remember, like, back, I think, when Batman v Superman was coming out, how they did this whole thing with, like, Jeff Johns and
Yes.
Kevin Smith, and, like,
Yep.
he's talking about every project they're gonna do and all the heroes, and
Justice League
we
Part
got,
1,
like, half of
Justice League
them.
Part 2.
Yeah, we got, like, half of that, and then the other stuff just evaporated. Where is it? I don't know. It's just like an
Yeah.
absentee father when you run out of milk. It just left and never came back. I don't know. So you would think
Disappeared
that
into the night.
yeah, you would think that studios wouldn't do this, like, where they just announce release dates. But here we are, and he's saying, "Oh, it's we have a tentative release date of July 11th, 2025, which isn't too far away." And it's like, how about you just shut your mouth until until the cameras are rolling, and then you could
Yeah.
say maybe the movie. Like, until then, just stop. It's so, like, it's just so redundant at this
I'm
point.
surprised that that was the only project with a release date, because
I mean, thank
I'm
God.
sure, yeah, I'm sure they wanted to throw release dates on some of these, or release windows to get people hyped up, but don't give us any dates.
Yeah.
Imagine if, I mean, July 11th, 2025. That means all of these projects are at least 2.5 to 3 years away, which is insane. If they wouldn't have said anything and just focused on production and just got it out, I mean, that would have set expectations. Now expectations are, okay, this is 2.5 years away for the very first project, and it's most likely going to get delayed or something. This is not looking good
I think also
for
too, like, just
this new
announcing a
slate.
slate, because I remember
Yeah,
when Marvel did it and the Inhumans was supposed to be a movie, and then they ended up scrapping that and they made it a show that, like, 5 people watched. And it's like, you think, but,
yeah.
like, and the Dark Universe did the same thing. They had that, like, group photo of, like, all the characters playing all the movies. They made one movie. It was badly received, and then they just scrapped it. Like, I don't want to hear about, like, the 10 projects you have. I don't care, because all it is just words and numbers. That means nothing to me.
So that's your, I know, that's your thoughts on the release date. What do you think about the 5 movies? You have Superman, The Authority, you have a Batman movie, Supergirl movie, and Swamp Thing. So what do you think about those 5?
Oh god. Okay. Well, Superman, I mean, uh actually, in the article on the site that I'm looking at, like, there's this thing later that's like a more in-depth interview with James, where he's saying that he likes Henry and he feels like he got screwed, and by, like, like, in, like, playing Superman, like, they kept, like, screwing him around. And it's like, I'm surprised that he's probably going to get assassinated for saying that, because he's speaking the truth. I do like that he acknowledged that. I mean, yeah, like, he said, like, Henry wasn't necessarily, like, cast. So a new Superman movie, I don't really have an opinion. Like, I mean, obviously it's gonna happen. Swamp Thing, I'm the most interested in, because it's like a horror thing, and I think a horror movie in the DC universe sounds cool. And I don't know if we're getting Justice League Dark anymore, so I'll take what I get. I think The Authority sounds like it could be cool, but it just sounds like Watchmen, basically. And it's like, okay, whatever. And then The Brave and the Bold. I can't wait, Caleb. I can't wait to hear about yet another actor playing Batman.
Get ready
I'm
for it.
just so, because that's not something we've seen 20 million times, and they certainly haven't had any controversy about Batman. Also, with Michael Keaton being touted as being a big player, and then now he's going to be in Flash, and he was in Batgirl, which got canned because apparently at the end of Flash, he, like, travels to the future, and he shot a scene for Aquaman 2, but that scene was also shot with Ben Affleck, and we don't know which version's going to be used. But neither of those Batman are going to even be in the future movies. So what's the point of life, and why do we even exist? It's just I can't look at I just don't care. And it's like they're gonna finally have a Batman movie with a Robin for the first time since the '90s, since Joel Schumacher did it, and they're gonna have Damian Wayne, who exists because Talia al Ghul drugged Bruce Wayne and raped him in his sleep. Instead of, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd. No, Damian Wayne. So all the other Robins are old now. This is how you're going to introduce the Bat family in your DC universe? In your rebooted DC universe?
Yeah,
What?
so
What?
I'm going to give you my pitch for my DC universe in a little bit, and I solve that issue because I have the same take when it comes to that for the first chapter. Well, why are
It's
you
like-
why start with Superman and Batman, but
It's like freaking in Batman v Superman when they show the Robin suit of the dead Robin, and then people thought
like-
it was Jason Todd, and then Zach's like, "Oh no, that was actually Dick Grayson. He's
yeah,
dead."
oh,
And it's like
the DC
what?
universe? Yeah, they're old and dead. What?
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not the case with Brave and the Bold. Hopefully it's
why would you kill the first Robin and arguably the most popular? Like,
yeah,
and we didn't even see him in a movie at all. Not
well,
a
and that's my
flashback,
question.
nothing.
The Brave and the Bold, which Robin do you think it's going to be?
I mean, it
'Cause it
says
says-
Damian Wayne because that's James Gunn's favorite, which I'm not surprised by.
You know what? It says it's okay. It says in this write-up that I found, the DCU will introduce its Batman and Robin in this unusual father-son story inspired by Grant Morrison's comic series.
Yeah, it's going to
That
be
is-
Damian,
That's
which I think is a terrible idea.
I thought Dick was in Grant Morrison's.
No, he might mean a newer. No, it's the Grant Morrison one that introduces Batman to a son that he never knew about,
So it's
who was
Damian.
Damian Wayne.
No, what are they doing?
Yeah, so you're gonna introduce Batman in the
You're
rebooted
right.
DC universe, and he's already gonna be a dad, bro.
You're
What?
right.
Like, so is he gonna be older because we've gotten that already? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, why can't they just make a Batman? Like, I guess maybe they want to make it different from Matt Reeves' movies where he's solo, but like,
Well, they're skipping. Wow, I thought it was going to be Dick, but it is going to be Damian.
yeah,
They're skipping Dick Grayson, Jason Todd. They're skipping Barbara Gordon because she's in there as well with the Killing Joke, wrapped in that timeline. They're skipping. Wow.
I'll say this: if Matt Reeves doesn't introduce any of the Robins in his movies, like young, because Batman's younger, then Robin fans are gonna still be starving, and I think that sucks. Because like Robin representation in movies has sucked. Robin representation in TV sucks because like I hear Titans is like really gritty and dark for no reason, and Robin in that really doesn't feel like the character. So it's like I don't know why they hate Robin so much, but I mean I don't know.
So, so we're looking at this, and there's Superman, and then Batman and Damian. So we can just assume that Dick and Jason won't be around, but they have Supergirl and Swamp Thing. What do you think about
Oh yeah,
just throwing a Supergirl movie in there and a Swamp Thing movie right off the success of the Swamp Thing series for some reason?
Yo, dude, I'll say, I feel so bad for Sasha Calle.
Oh yeah, Yeah.
because she found out that she got the role like a while ago on a Zoom call and was like really happy. And
Yeah.
then that movie's had so much baggage, it's gotten delayed. It's finally coming out, and now they're rebooting. I'm gonna say this: I 100% stand by this. If she doesn't get to play Supergirl in this movie, because we know that James is being really wishy-washy with who he's recasting or not, because he doesn't even know how to fully commit to his own choices apparently, and just
Yeah.
wants to preserve his work because of course he does. If he doesn't let her play Supergirl in this movie and in this universe after everything she's had to go through that was out of her control, I'm not watching the movie because I think that's BS. 100%.
Yeah, in the last episode, I was talking about how I wonder if they're going to keep her for that movie, because if they don't, imagine the backlash.
Dude, they better, because like it's bad enough that she's in like an ensemble movie playing a new character. So if she doesn't get to do that in a solo project, oh no, dude, no. Absolutely not. I don't care. There's nothing James or Peter could say that would make me think that was a okay thing to do. And like, I'm
So,
not really one of those people that like, like rallies for a cause or anything, but I got principles too.
um, so then what do you think about Swamp Thing? Because are you familiar with the series from
I
HBO?
haven't seen it, but I hear it's great, even though it got canceled before that season was even done, which is weird. I wonder why
It
that
guy has a
happened.
92 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I really want to
Pretty
see
good.
it. Like it. I've seen like clips of it, and it looks cool as hell.
Yeah, I always heard great things about it. So maybe that's why they're making the Swamp Thing movie. But tell me, who really wants a Swamp Thing movie?
Yeah, I don't feel like it has to be a movie.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like I feel like there are other characters that would be better. Like, I don't see. I mean, I think it's like I'm certainly gonna be there when it comes out, excited. But like, how many people? Like, I'm like curious to see like how many people would actually like really care that much.
All right. That's the movies, the 5 movies. Give me your quick impressions for the TV series coming out: Creature Commandos, Waller, Booster Gold, Lanterns, and Paradise Lost.
Okay, I'll start from the positive, or do you want me to start from the positive or negative?
Start with the negative.
Okay, let's scroll. Okay, Paradise Lost. So this sounds horrible. I don't
Yes.
want to. Hey kids, would you like a Wonder Woman show without Wonder Woman? No. I no. Who does? You find me one person who read this and is like, that sounds pretty cool. And they're probably a simp for freaking James Gunn or DC. Like that no. I I don't have a lot to say about it, but I wanna know what strain of weed Peter and James were smoking that led them to come up with this idea. That's what I want to know. Waller, Viola Davis is returning again because he's freaking cherry picking who he wants to recast, which I don't stand behind. I don't care if it was a success. If you're gonna reboot, but
Did you hear my
whatever.
explanation for that in the episode?
I don't remember. What did
So
you say?
Waller, the only reason they're making Waller is to keep the talent around from Peacemaker
Oh yeah.
after the reboot. So Viola Davis, James Gunn's wife, and John Cena, most likely,
Yeah.
because it says it features Team Peacemaker. So instead of just continuing Peacemaker, they're making an Amanda Waller series
Yeah, dude, like Amanda Waller is
before
great
anything
as
else.
a antagonistic force to like the Suicide Squad. And I think
Yeah, she's a
that's
good character.
been I think that was actually great in both of the movies, even though I like one of them. But an Amanda Waller show, like just about Amanda Waller, I don't care. I don't give a crap. Booster
Pointless.
Gold.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to this. It's been, I think it was originally going to be a movie way back. Zach Stentz, who was one of the writers on X-Men First Class, Thor, the 2011 movie, the first one, this Netflix movie called Rim of the World, and some other stuff I forgot, was writing, I think, the movie. It's a show now. I think that sounds fun. I hope it's like kind of a sitcom style thing, like, but like with like drama. Like, I think they need to find somebody who's like funny but can also be a great dramatic actor, because like I think from what I know, the idea is like he starts out just like wanting to be famous and stuff and being like purely selfish and shallow, and then eventually learns how to be a hero. And I think that could be great, but it all kind of lives and dies on who plays him. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think that sounds like a ton of fun. Lanterns, I'm happy this is still going on, even though it's not exactly the same show, because they fired the guy who ruined the CW shows. Thank God. I hope he is forced to work at Wendy's or something.
Yeah.
I haven't seen True Detective, but I think that idea sounds cool because I mean they are cops. But when he says it's Earth based, like I don't know if that means they're the Green Lanterns that are looking after Earth because they're humans. But like I don't want it to be like, because it's a show, so it's not going to have a really high budget. So I'm hoping that it's not like primarily on Earth and then they fly to space for like 5 minutes in an episode. You know what I mean? So I'm curious, but I need to see more before I say I'm excited or not, because the phrasing kind of throws me for a loop a little bit.
Yeah, and in my write up for chapter 1 of my DCU, I also have a Green Lantern series, and I solve those problems. Just wait.
Okay. And then,
So give me your last.
my most anticipated show is Creature Commandos. I think he did this one for me because he knows that I like really weird, off kilter
This is his
stuff.
specialty.
Yeah,
well.
like I think, isn't Robot Man from Doom Patrol in here?
He's from Doom Patrol. I don't know if he's in Creature
I
Commandos. I'm
think,
not as
yeah.
familiar.
Well, I know Frankenstein's here. I've read some Justice League Dark comics where he makes an appearance, and first of all, I haven't read the whole run, but dude, Justice League Dark, fantastic comics, fantastic characters, stories, everything about it is just mwah, I love it. Lady Frankenstein looks hot anyway. I just wanted to throw that out there. No, but I'm excited for this for sure. It seems like it'll be fun, wacky, weird. I love the artwork just based on this image we have. I think the animation looks crisp. I'm expecting like, just a fun time, with some cool characters, a fun concept. My only hang up is that, and it's something I have weirdly strong feelings about, but like he said that he wants to have the people who do the voices play them when they're in live action stuff. And like we know that like voiceover talent doesn't really get represented in movies. Like studios tend to just cast, like whoever's like a really big name in Hollywood.
Vin Diesel as Groot.
Yeah, like except for like I'm actually surprised that for Sonic 2 they got the lady who voices Tails back.
That
as
was
Tails.
surprising. Yeah.
Because like, but other than that, like I feel like if like a show or movie is gonna have voiceover, it should be people who do voiceover because, I feel like they're underrepresented and that's a shame. So
Just get Chris Pratt to do it.
every voice is just like Chris Pratt doing a slightly lower or higher pitch. There you go. So I mean, I feel like they could obviously get like voiceover performers who can also act on screen, or they could learn to act on screen, which is what I'm hoping. Because that would be cool, and like it would show like them growing, as performers.
And what's
But
funny enough,
if they're
as bad
just
as the
gonna,
CW was,
huh?
yeah, as bad as the CW was, they did that somewhat, which I thought was pretty cool because they had their animated show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Vixen and Flash and Green Arrow. They voiced their characters in the Vixen show as well as led in their series.
Oh,
so as bad as the CW is, that's something they did that would be nice to see on screen because James Gunn did say he wanted animation and live action to be connected in some way.
Yeah. Well, my closing thoughts on this are I just hope that it's not one of those things where they just get like whoever's popular to voice the characters, because I don't want to hear like Frankenstein being voiced by frickin' I can't think
Chris
of
Hemsworth.
Yeah, or like I don't want one of the characters looks like Weasel. I don't want that to be like freaking Josh Gad or something. Like I want it to be people who are great at this and can also do screen stuff. So I mean, aside from that though, I'm really excited. Like this is certainly the kind of thing I like because it's interesting, it's unique, it's not something I've really seen before, and I recognize one of the characters.
Yeah, and James Gunn, the one thing about him, he has an eye for the characters, specifically who embodies the characters. So I'm excited to see who he eventually picks for Superman and Batman and whatnot. So I feel like Creature Commandos, especially, is in good hands. So that's the movies and the TV shows. Of course, Elseworlds will still exist with Joker and the Batman and a few other titles.
Dude, I just want to say real quick, I was hearing like rumors that like maybe they were going to bring Robert Pattinson's Batman into the main fold. I'm so happy that they're not. Oh my god.
Keep that. Yeah, and that's what I'm getting into. The Elseworlds aspect is extremely important for DC. With Elseworlds, you get stories like Injustice, which I want to talk about at the very end, and you get stories like Deceased that can exist without affecting main continuity, and that allows you to have movies like Joker and the Batman.
Apparently, I think James teased that he might be working on a Kingdom Come movie. Maybe. I don't know
did that?
If you saw that on Twitter. I think like he posted. He like shared him reading the comic or something, or a picture of the comic. I think.
Yeah, there was some. I think it was somebody else. No, it was.
I hope they keep that in the Elseworlds because, dude, that is a fantastic. Like, I don't read a lot of comics, but that's one of my faves. Like,
that's a very good Elseworld story.
It's like it's such an epic. The Flash in that's like essentially like this blur. It's like it's just really dope. Like the Batman side of the story is like Blade Runner, like a Ridley Scott movie. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so Elseworlds extremely important. So we basically have went all through the new slate of DC projects coming out, talking about what we would have done differently. And I actually went through and made my own DCU slate, and I put some time into it. Okay,
I can tell.
So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna manifest into James Gunn real quick and throw all of this out of the window. The chapter 1 Gods and Monsters is getting thrown out the window, and I'm going to give you my chapter 1. All right, you ready for it?
Oh yeah.
It's called Chapter 1 World's Finest. What I'll do is I'll go through. I have 4 movies and a TV show. I'm going to go through one at a time, and when after I read the title and description and whatnot, we can just theorize. All right, ready? First one. It's also a Superman movie, except my Superman movie is called Superman: A Better Tomorrow. Superman's origin story. Superman learning to fit in, falling in love with Lois, juggling news reporter career with superhero antics, and the world is still skeptical of him. This is early in his career.
Mm.
Then Brainiac attacks, a robotic alien invasion. This contrasts the human-like Kryptonian alien race versus the invading robotic alien race. This is the biggest struggle Superman has faced so far in his career. It pushes him to his limits, but in the end, Kal-El wins, and it shows humanity that although he's not from Earth, he is just as human as any of us. And the iconic Superman precedent is set. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. That's my pitch for an opening of a new DC slate. So what do you think about that?
There's a one of the Superman New 52 stories
Mhm.
is like it. I haven't read it in a while, but I have it. He fights Brainiac and like he's doing his thing. I don't like remember like what the
I'm trying to
specifics
think.
of the stories are, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like the subtitle "A Better Tomorrow" because like that to me like obviously like he's a guy that fights like aliens and these like larger than life threats, but like he's at the end of the day he's also somebody who just wants people to have a better tomorrow, as the subtitle said. Like, so I think that like I'm imagining like he's fighting Brainiac and stuff, but like you could do what Man of Steel kind of failed to do a little, in my
Exactly.
opinion, which is
Exactly.
like it's like focusing like because as far as the people in Metropolis are concerned, like is this the end of the world? Like what's going on? Like this weird alien is like trying to bottle us up and stuff. What's it gonna do? And then like Superman would like be like just helping people feel better in the face of this big threat.
Because
Like
that's what Superman does, and that's what did not happen in Man of Steel 2013. And what also didn't happen in Man of Steel 2013 was an alien invasion from human like aliens.
yeah.
2013 had Kryptonians invade Earth. So there was a hostile alien invasion from literally the same race as Superman. So what is going to make Earth, think that Superman is any different besides the fact that he's protecting them? At least with this, you get to see Brainiac and a robot alien invasion that is, really shows how human he is. It's not him fighting other human-like aliens. It's him fighting robot aliens. It's a simple thing that, you know, visually and stylistically shows that he is human.
I think if I did a Superman movie, I would have him fight Bizarro. Like maybe he's created by Lex Luthor, and then like it's like kind of like Craven's Last Hunt, but instead of Craven wreaking havoc as like trying to pretending to be Spider-Man, Bizarro's like pretending to be Superman, and then it could be like a thing of like Superman like seeing how people respond to Bizarro, and then being like, is that how people see me? And then it could be this really
Yeah,
like
Bizarro's great.
introspective piece.
I would have see. I went through a lot of different interpretations of this, but there's some great stories you could have with Superman. He has some interesting villains. I'm thinking of
He has so many
specifically
villains that we haven't seen yet.
chapter, yeah, like Mongol, Bizarro, even a good Lex Luthor. Like there's specifically a Lex Luthor in the comics I'm thinking of. But let me continue with the second movie because I'm thinking of beginning a new DCU with the first chapter. So of course you got to have that Superman origin story. Next is Batman, of course. Here's how my interpretation of Batman would go. I think you'll like this. It's called Batman, World's Greatest Detective. This picks up 5 years into the career of Batman. At the end of the loner Batman era in Bruce's life. So think at the end, after the Matt Reeves Batman.
Yeah.
Batman. It's a noir detective crime thriller, similar to the Batman. This movie takes place primarily 5 years into Batman's career as vigilante crime fighter. The plot centers on a series of murders involving Gotham City police officers by a mysterious serial killer only known as the Hangman. Central to the storyline is a territory war between Two-Face and the remnants of the Falcone mob, led by Sophia Falcone. The mob wars cause the death of the Flying Graysons, which leads to Bruce adopting Dick. A lot of Batman's rogues gallery are introduced and put into Arkham by Batman while he searches for the killer known as the Hangman. So this is inspired by a comic series called Batman Dark Victory. So I didn't give any spoilers here for that specific story, but essentially this is a crime thriller where Two-Face and the Falcone mob are going against each other. There's a lot of Batman's rogues galleries mixed up, in this war that he ends up putting in Arkham. And during the conflict, Flying Graysons are killed. He adopts Dick and starts to train him as his partner.
Actually, strangely enough, that's kind of similar to, I thought of like a story of like Batman adopting Dick, like how like he comes to meet him and stuff, and like I who I had kill his parents is actually Black Mask.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Black Mask.
I like the idea of like I like
Yeah.
the idea of like it being related to like mobsters or something.
Yeah, because think about the Batman by Matt Reeves. It's all mob, but in this, it's a mixture of Batman's rogues gallery plus the mob, because this is a story that takes place after the Long Halloween and the Holiday Killer. The Hangman is kind of a spiritual successor to the Holiday Killer in a way. So I'm thinking of basically the Batman by Matt Reeves kind of being like the Long Halloween, and then this DCU, you pick up with Batman starting right after that point in time, about 5 years in, right as he adopts Dick. So that's my pitch for Batman. So I went from Superman to Batman, and I was like, I have to do Wonder Woman. But how am I going to do Wonder Woman justice? I put the most time into this movie right here. I think you will like this one the most. Maybe not. You might like my other one, my TV series. But here's how I'll do Wonder Woman. You ready for this?
Yeah.
It's called Wonder Woman, Daughter of the Gods. Diana Prince has lived her life on Themyscira, trained from a young age by Ares, the god of war. The entirety of Themyscira believe that she was indeed made from clay, gifted by the gods, until her mother, Queen Hippolyta, reveals the truth to her. She was never a clay figure brought to life by the magic of the gods. She is instead a demigoddess, the natural-born daughter of Hippolyta and Zeus. This creates confusion about her true nature and raises the uncomfortable truth that if she is Zeus's daughter, who are her siblings? This news sets her on a journey to discover who she is and why her true identity has been kept a secret. But if she leaves Themyscira in search of answers, she will be forbidden to return. So this movie is kind of think of Percy Jackson. It is the children of the gods.
So
specifically her being the daughter of the gods, searching for answers, searching for Zeus and her siblings.
Is that aspect pulled from any of the comic books, or is that something that you created for this?
Mostly all of these are pulled from specific points in the comics. So this is pulled from the beginning of the new Wonder Woman New 52. With her being the demigoddess of Hippolyta and Zeus.
I think a Wonder Woman movie should basically be the film version of Hades, as in the video game, kind of.
Yeah, and
Like,
that's what I was thinking. That's why I mentioned Ares in there. You got Zeus, and then you have her siblings. It's essentially a Percy Jackson movie.
I
And
think
then once
it'd
she
be
leaves for answers, well, and then you get into the specific Wonder Woman mythos once she leaves Themyscira for answers. Then you get into the Steve Trevor, you get into her meeting Superman eventually. But this is her origin before she leaves Themyscira, figuring out that she is the daughter of Zeus.
I think in keeping with the Percy Jackson vibe, I've read The Lightning Thief, by the way. I'll
Mhm.
never read it, but I thought it was pretty good. But like that's basically like a coming of age road trip story. I think it'd be cool if you made Wonder Woman a little younger. Like maybe she's like 18, 19,
Yeah.
something like that. So then like it's like her becoming a woman, a Wonder Woman, basically. I I think that'd be fun, and it's something we haven't seen. Well, I mean, I think like
Yeah,
they're
that's
technically ageless because they're like immortal, but like I think it'd be cool to have her, like have it that way. Like,
yeah, I like that. That's kind of what I had in mind was essentially that Percy Jackson
yeah,
movie
shoot,
or
now
book.
I actually want to see this.
I'm telling you, I put some time into this. I think this next one is a fix for James Gunn's Green Lantern series because I also have a Green Lantern series, but it is called Tales of the Green Lantern Corps series. It's an anthology series following
Ooh,
the Green Lantern Corps members. So, Hal Jordan of Earth is the greatest hero of the Green Lantern Corps, the intergalactic force that keeps the peace throughout the cosmos. But there are thousands of other Green Lanterns, most of whom are not even human. This series tells some of their stories, in which these heroes face both the evils of those who would stand against them and their own inner conflicts. It's an anthology series following stories of Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Kyle, Guy Gardner, Kilowog, Sinestro, Simon Baz, and Jessica Cruz, and their interactions with each other, along with other Lantern Corps.
you know what would be interesting? I just thought of this since like so by anthology, like you mean like it would be like strictly self-contained, right? Like it'd be like
Yes, so
episode.
one
Okay,
episode would basically be Kilowog, fighting against the Red Lantern Corps. The next one would be John Stewart being called to Earth for some reason. Next one would be, uh, Kyle getting the White Lantern ring. Literally, none of them have to, or one would be
okay.
Sinestro going from green to yellow. You know what I mean?
You know what would be fun? I just thought of this. Like if you sometimes have like like a specific like male narrator voice in throughout the episodes, like saying different things, and then at the end you like cut to like a house, like maybe on a beach or something, and then it's like in a bedroom you see like a crib and like like it's a baby's room, right? And then you reveal that it's Hal telling all of these stories to like his son or daughter who's a baby or something.
You know what? This is interesting because you can turn this into Emerald Twilight, which is I believe it's from the '90s. It's a Hal Jordan story. I think it's early to mid '90s. I want to say, and essentially, in the aftermath of Superman's death, what is it? The robotic Superman, or who is it? It's one of the evil Supermen, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
blows up Coast City, killing everybody Hal Jordan ever loved. So
He becomes Parallax, right?
he becomes Parallax, but he creates this fake reality using the power of the ring because the ring can essentially do anything. He creates this fake world in Coast City because he's just just so sad about losing everybody that he
Yeah.
uses the ring to create this fake world. So yeah, that's interesting. Maybe these could be tied in somewhere because that's such a good story. But
And then
anyways,
like
a lot of
I just
potential with
saw
the
I just like
lanterns.
thought of like a really quick funny scene if you do like he's like telling like the last story to his kid or whatever, and then like they like smile and stuff, and then he's like, "Oh, you like that, huh?" And then his kid like he's like wearing his like ring, or he like has his ring close to him. Like maybe the kid like reach out and touches the ring and it lights up, and then it's like, is the kid eventually going to be worthy? I don't know. Maybe not. It could just be like a fun thing.
They're so I love the lanterns. Like Green Lanterns in general are one of my favorite groups in comics. I love Hal Jordan's amazing, and John Stewart, love John Stewart. And I wanted to do more than just a buddy cop movie, or series is that's what everyone wants. I'm pretty sure that's what James Gunn Lantern series is going to be,
Yeah, yeah.
like kind of like a buddy cop between the two. But I wanted to do more than that because there's so many more self-contained stories out there. And actually, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps is a series of comics from the early '80s, so kind of fits perfectly. All right, you ready for my last one?
Yeah.
I had the Trinity: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and we're going to end it with the Flash. And it's going to be simple. It's just the Flash of two worlds. This is an origin story introducing Barry, stopping lower level villains in his rogues gallery, and he discovers he is much faster than he thought. He breaks into the Speed Force to save Iris from the latest attack by Captain Cold, introducing Jay Garrick. Thus, the start of the Flash family and the introduction of the Speed Force. And the Speed Force is the gateway to the multiverse. So essentially, we're ending chapter 1 with a Flash origin story where he discovers the Speed Force, and that creates basically unlimited possibilities. Now, at the end, it's revealed that his origin was created by Reverse Flash, who has been manipulating Barry over the course of his entire life, like the comics. And then that
Mm.
will lead into an eventual Flashpoint movie. So that is chapter 1, World's Finest. What do you think of the whole rundown?
I think that sounds pretty solid. Like, like starting with like the arguably the most important characters, the most famous ones, generally. Um, you say his origin was created by Reverse Flash. Like, what do you mean?
Yes. So it's a paradox in itself. Reverse Flash was made. Eobard Thawne in the future tried to recreate what happened to Barry because he was obsessed with the Flash.
Yeah, and then he
This was
goes to the Flash
hundreds of years in the future.
Museum and then
Yeah.
finds out that he becomes the Flash's greatest villain. So then he becomes the Flash's greatest villain.
Yes. And then when he does become the Flash's greatest villain, he has to then cause the Flash to become the Flash because he travels back in time, and him traveling back in time, there's so many different iterations of this, but basically him traveling back in time causes the Flash to get his powers. There's also another story where in Infinite Crisis, Flash saves the multiverse by destroying the Anti-Monitor, and he destroys himself in the process, and he becomes the lightning bolt that first strikes him and gives him his own powers. So there's multiple iterations of this, but anyways, I think it's interesting just being a paradox and having Reverse Flash being the person who created the Flash because
Yeah, for sure.
it's just a time paradox.
It'd be fun to like when he creates the multiverse, like show like really like brief flashes of like alternate versions of characters or whatever, just as like a thing of like, oh, these things may or may not be real, and you may or may not see them.
So essentially, like what they're doing in the MCU with after Endgame, they almost restarted in a way. Except with at the end of a crisis, you can restart with new actors because the crisis really resets everything. So, but you're still in the same universe. So you can, if you want actors from, before, you can pull them in. So you know how like in the Flash movie coming out in a few months, they're having Michael Keaton in it.
Yeah.
You can essentially do things like that in DC, which, you know, kind of makes me excited for the Flash movie. I have to admit.
It'd be fun
But
to have like
yeah,
Flash be the one that has memories of like the other timelines.
that's how it goes.
Instead,
Yeah.
like you could do like
Yep.
Biff in Back to the Future 2, where he sees himself chasing Marty's son, and then he's like, "There's something really familiar about all
Yeah.
this."
That is essentially, you just described Flash.
In the animated movie, Troy Baker voices Batman. I love his Batman.
I should try out and voice Batman. If you ever watched my deceased video on YouTube, which I can shamelessly plug that in this, and I'm going to put it in the description.
My Batman voice would just basically be like the. I don't know if this is an impersonation of Kevin Conroy. Where's the Joker? Tell me where he is, Harley, or innocent people are gonna die. It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. There you go. Hopefully
You're
you're
gonna,
hearing this, James.
hey James, you're gonna be cast as Batman in my DC. That's crazy. Actually, we'll end it with that. Yeah, that's so funny. All right, so that is basically how we would create the greatest comic book cinematic universe to ever grace the big screen or streaming service of your choice, essentially. All right, final thoughts on James Gunn and his DCU.
I'll say. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not thrilled that they're trying to once again do a shared universe, but I mean, I'm at least hoping that maybe we could get some stuff that I've always wanted to see and that maybe other people wanted to see. Um, Hopefully the Batman movie is more lighthearted because we haven't had that in a while. Hopefully he has the blue and gray trunks.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. He has to, in
Uh,
Brave and Bold. He has to have blue and gray.
yeah, I guess I just want it to be good, James. I just want it to be good. That's all.
James, give us at least a 7 out of 10 or higher, please. Here's the thing: MCU. There's a lot of stinkers in the MCU.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of like. I'm just gonna say it. We're at the end of the video. Wakanda Forever, absolute stinker.
I haven't had a desire to watch it. I did, and then I just stopped caring.
And that's getting into the new slate of DCU movies and shows. Let's not have the stinkers. Okay, if the Authority isn't something we're all excited for, at least when it comes out, make sure it's quality. Don't give us a stinker. And that's basically my final thoughts. Is I don't want stinkers in the DCU. We've had way too many of those in the last 10 years.
Oh, wait, my final thoughts. If Paradise Lost ends up being a great show or even a pretty good show,
Yeah,
we will do an entire episode with face cam on, and I will wear a clown mask for the entire thing, and I will sing its praises.
no, I have a better idea. Same thing, except you have to dress like Wonder Woman.
Okay.
That show sounds terrible, and that
I couldn't believe it. I'm like watching the video, and he got to that part, and I'm like, what?
it's
I don't know.
it's gonna be a stinker, James. All right, that does it for episode 10, creating the greatest comic cinematic universe, unlike James. So thanks for coming on this episode and giving me your thoughts on what's going on over at DC and the latest crisis over there, and giving me your thoughts on my own interpretation of the DCU, my own chapter. If you got this far, thanks for watching. You can support us on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify. And until next time,
Stop
Batman.
tweeting hashtag fire James Gunn. Or Batman is going to find you and throw you in Arkham Asylum. Be respectful. Damn it.
Respectfully.